Some coins seem almost invisible until you take a closer look, tucked away in change jars, buried at the back of old drawers, passed over for decades without a second thought. But sometimes, what looks ordinary hides something extraordinary. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on two seemingly humble dimes that have turned heads among serious collectors and casual owners alike. These aren't mythical pieces you'll never encounter. They're real, they're out there, and they're worth knowing about. Let's start with a coin from an era many remember vividly, the 1977 Roosevelt dime. At first glance, this coin might not seem special. It's the same Franklin D. Roosevelt design that's graced the U.S. 10-cent piece since 1946. Yet within certain runs of the 1977 dime, something happened that transformed a common coin into a collector's prize. In many ways, the 1977 dime is a reflection of its time. It was the height of the disco era, a time of cultural transformation, economic shifts, and growing attention to U.S. currency as collectors began to realize how easily rare varieties could slip through the cracks. While the Roosevelt dime series was created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt shortly after his death in 1945, the coin didn't just remain a tribute, it became a canvas for future eras and features that would capture the imagination of collectors. Sculptor John R. Sinnock's design, Roosevelt's familiar portrait facing left, along with the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, is simple, yet elegant. But it's what's beneath the surface, in the fine details of how these coins were struck, that makes certain dates in the series so highly coveted. So, what makes the 1977 Roosevelt dime different from all the others? It's not the design. It's not the standard issues that you find in pocket change. No, the true magic lies in some of the rare error varieties that were accidentally produced. While error coins have always fascinated collectors, the 1977 dimes have become a kind of holy grail for enthusiasts who keep an eye out for coins that didn't quite make it through the minting process the way they should have. The most talked about and sought after variety from 1977 is the infamous no-S proof dime. Typically, proof coins, those made specially for collectors, come with a mint mark that identifies the mint where they were produced. For years, the San Francisco Mint used an S mint mark to signify that a coin was struck there. But in a very rare instance, a batch of 1977 dimes came off the presses missing that mint mark entirely. This error, the no-S proof, is what fuels so much excitement among collectors. The history behind the 1977 no-S proof is still a bit shrouded in mystery. There are only rumors and half-verified reports that a few of these error coins were ever released. There's no doubt that a handful of them slipped past quality control. The bigger mystery is whether any of these coins were ever intentionally kept or even reported in the first place. In the years following, the 1977 no-S dimes became the subject of intense searches. Proof sets were scrutinized, each dime examined under magnification in hopes of spotting this missing S. Despite efforts to locate one, no confirmed examples have surfaced in public auctions or among major collections, making the coin incredibly rare. The absence of that tiny S mint mark on an otherwise perfect coin transforms it from a run-of-the-mill dime to a collector's treasure. It's also worth noting that collectors don't just focus on the no-S error. Other varieties from the 1977 Roosevelt dime series, though not as rare, still pique interest. For example, some 1977 dimes show subtle die cracks, weak strikes, or slightly off-center strikes, which also add to their appeal. It's these nuances that set coins like the 1977 dime apart from the regular, mass-produced currency that most people never think twice about. The real draw of the 1977 Roosevelt dime isn't just the mistakes that occurred during its minting, though. It's how those small quirks can turn a relatively common coin into something much more valuable. When you look at the market value of the 1977 Roosevelt dime in a typical circulated state, the coin doesn't have much to offer. It's worth maybe 10 cents, and if you find one in decent condition, it might fetch a little more as a novelty, but nothing more than face value or just a little above. However, as with most coins, the real value lies in higher-grade specimens, particularly those in mint state, MS, grades. A coin graded MS-67 or MS-68, which means it's nearly flawless, with no visible imperfections even under magnification, can fetch prices in the range of $500 to $1,000 at auction. The truly rare pieces, coins with both the no error and exceptional quality, are potentially worth much more. If one of these ever made it into a public auction, the bidding could easily soar past $50,000, or even $100,000, depending on the condition and provenance of the coin. For comparison, coins in typical MS-65 or MS-66 condition can still sell for a solid amount. They might not break the bank, but a 1977 dime in MS-65 can go for anywhere between $100 and $300, making it a reasonable target for collectors who want to add something special to their collection without going overboard. The higher the grade, the higher the potential value, and if you happen to come across one of these coins in excellent condition, that's when the real magic happens. Condition, as always, is everything. And it's not just the high-grade coins that can surprise you. A 1977 dime with very few signs of wear, even in circulated form, can sometimes fetch a surprising price, particularly if it has some other unusual features like die cracks or full bands across the torch on the reverse. The full bands designation, which indicates that the horizontal bands of the torch on the reverse side of the coin are clearly defined, adds significant value to any Roosevelt dime. A full bands 1977 dime, even in lower grades, could be worth a lot more than you'd expect. But there's more to the 1977 Roosevelt dime than just its value on the market. It serves as a reminder of how little details can turn an ordinary coin into something much more. A missed mint mark, a slight shift in the die alignment, or a mechanical malfunction during the minting process could make all the difference between a dime you'd spend without thinking twice and one that's worth thousands of dollars to the right person. For collectors, it's those quirks that make the hunt worth it. The 1977 Roosevelt dime is a perfect example of how the smallest details can sometimes lead to the biggest rewards. In a broader context, this coin encapsulates the excitement and appeal of numismatics. It's not just about having money in hand. It's about understanding the stories behind each piece, uncovering the mysteries of minting processes, and hunting for that elusive error or unappreciated rarity that can turn your collection into something extraordinary. If the 1987 dime showed us that even a regular year can produce some hidden gems, the 1999 dime steps up with a story that feels almost unbelievable at first. This isn't just a case of a minor strike error or a small die crack. We're talking about a coin that broke the rules of minting itself, and ended up making history because of it. The 1999 Roosevelt dime, at a glance, doesn't raise eyebrows. It followed the same basic design that had been around since 1946, with Roosevelt's familiar profile on the front and the torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the back. The U.S. Mint wasn't making any major design changes that year for the dime. Instead, all the excitement at the Mint in 1999 was focused on launching the brand new 50-state quarters program. Dimes were just expected to keep rolling off the presses quietly. And they did, except for a few astonishing exceptions. One of the most famous modern mint errors is the 1999 P. Roosevelt dime struck on a Pennsylvania state quarter planchet. That's right, a dime-sized design accidentally struck on a quarter-sized blank. This happened at the Philadelphia Mint, likely when a quarter planchet was mistakenly fed into the press meant for dimes. The result? A Roosevelt dime image spread across a larger, thicker coin, with much of the lettering and details distorted or missing entirely. Talk about a once-in-a-lifetime mistake. Now, how does something like that even happen in a controlled, professional environment like the U.S. Mint? Well, 1999 was a chaotic year for mint workers. The state quarters were such a massive production project that the facilities were running at full tilt. When production scales up so dramatically, small mistakes can slip through. And once a coin like that gets past quality control, and a few did, it becomes an instant rarity. There aren't many of these 1999 P dimes on quarter planchets known to exist. Fewer than a dozen have been authenticated by major grading services, making it one of the scarcest modern errors out there. And when they show up at auction, collectors don't hold back. One example sold at auction for over $13,000. Not bad for a coin most people would pass by without a second thought. But the wild errors of 1999 don't stop with that one spectacular mistake. Other errors from that year include: off-center strikes up to 30% or more. Broad strikes where the coin is stamped without the retaining collar, causing it to spread out wider and flatter than normal. Wrong planchet errors, where dimes were struck on planchets meant for foreign coins. Each of these types of errors can command hundreds, even thousands of dollars, depending on the specifics. The broader and cleaner the mistake, and the better the condition, the higher the price tag. Speaking of condition, it's worth diving into how dramatically value can shift based on a coin's grade. A 1999 error dime in circulated condition, say, something that's been rattling around in someone's pocket for a few years, might still be worth $100 to $300 if the error is significant. But that same coin, if found in mint state condition with strong luster and minimal handling marks, could easily climb to $1,000 or more. Professional grading is crucial here. Buyers want that official MS-65, MS-67, or even MS-68 label to prove what they're getting is the real deal, and that it's top-tier quality. Now, most 1999 dimes are perfectly normal. But there's a smaller, more subtle mystery with this year too: possible misplaced die markers. Some collectors believe a handful of 1999 dimes show faint impressions, almost like ghost images, near Roosevelt's neck or in the lettering. While not as dramatic as a wrong planchet error, if officially catalogued as a recognized variety, these could develop a strong collector base very quickly. After all, subtle anomalies have driven up prices before. Just look at the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent. And let's not forget another small but valuable niche: proof errors. In 1999, the San Francisco Mint struck beautiful proof dimes for collector sets. Normally, proof coins are handled with kid gloves, struck multiple times for razor-sharp details, and carefully inspected. But occasionally, mistakes still slip by. There are reports of 1999 S-proof dimes with missing frosting, weak strikes, or minor doubling. While not commanding five-figure sums, these proof errors can sell for several $100s when found in pristine condition. What really makes the 1999 dime special, though, is the context of its errors. Unlike earlier decades where mint technology was rougher, by 1999 the mint had state-of-the-art machinery. Mistakes were supposed to be almost impossible. So when an error does happen during this high-precision era, it's automatically more noteworthy, and much more desirable to collectors. Now, here's a fun fact you might not hear often: among the few known quarter planchet errors from 1999, slight variations exist based on how centered the strike was. Some coins show Roosevelt's face almost perfectly centered, just stretched weirdly across the wrong-sized metal. Others are wildly misaligned, with half of Roosevelt's profile missing altogether. Believe it or not, the misaligned ones often fetch higher prices. Collectors love dramatic visuals, something that makes the error impossible to miss, even at a glance. And then there's the personal stories. One of the most famous examples of a 1999 dime struck on a quarter planchet was discovered not by a seasoned collector, but by a teenager going through loose change at a fast food restaurant. Thinking it looked weird, the kid pocketed it and later showed it to a relative who happened to be a coin collector. That single moment turned into a $10,000 plus payday after the coin was authenticated and sold at auction. It's a perfect reminder that sometimes, an incredible discovery is hiding right under your nose. Another case involved an estate sale where an old change jar yielded a 1999 dime broadstrike. It sold shortly after for nearly $600, plucked straight from what most would consider junk silver or regular pocket change. Those moments, those surprise discoveries, are what keep coin collectors digging, examining, and paying closer attention to the tiniest details. Looking at the bigger picture, the 1999 dime, and particularly its major errors, stands as a perfect example of why modern coins should never be overlooked. Yes, it's exciting to chase after 19th-century rarities and colonial coppers. But real, serious value is still being minted today, sometimes by mistake. And if you're tuned in, if you know what to look for, you can catch lightning in a bottle. Especially for collectors who've been in the hobby for decades, there's a huge advantage. You know the feel of a coin. You can spot a thickness that feels just slightly off. You know when the edge reading doesn't match what your fingers expect. That kind of muscle memory, built up over years and years of handling coins, gives you a huge edge over the casual collector or the person just starting out. The 1999 dime rewards that kind of attention to detail. It's not always flashy at first glance, but for those willing to slow down, examine the surface, measure the dimensions, and ask, does this feel right? There are still treasures out there waiting to be found. When you put the stories of the 1987 and 1999 dimes side by side, a fascinating truth emerges: the rarest coins aren't always the oldest. Sometimes, modern errors slip through the cracks, and because everyone assumes newer coins are worthless, these rarities get missed. They get spent. They sit in drawers for years unnoticed. But for those willing to dig deeper, the rewards are absolutely real.